by Cherokee or Bronson. And when they said, no, it's going to be right underneath that Chinese marquee, that one right there. I was like, wow, I guess I must have become a big shot in the meantime. That's really cool. I appreciate it. You know, it was funny because one thing, it was really wonderful to have Sam Jackson, a Chattanooga boy, come up here and offer it up to a Knoxville boy. But the reality is, I only lived the first couple years of my life, for the most part, in Tennessee. The rest of it, I lived in Southern California. And I lived more in the East LA area when I was like a little boy, like Alhambra, Montebello area. But my very young parents would come up every once in a while on double dates with another couple friend of theirs to Hollywood, to this theater in particular, to see things. And where they could have just dropped me off with my grandmother or something, they took me along. So the first time I was at this theater was 1969, when I was 7 years old. And it was like a Sunday afternoon, and they took me to a trip to Hollywood, and I saw Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid at the Graumans Chinese. So that was probably the first time I walked on this area of sidewalk that eventually would have my name on it. Second time was a year later. That was 69, 1970, and it was a date night. And so they were on a full double date that night. And where that was before that was like a Sunday afternoon, Butch Cassidy. This was like either Friday night or Saturday night. And my mom had just got her hair done. And she was an Indian, so she dyed it red, which was a strange color for her, but she pulled it off. But it was a big night that night, and it was Saturday night, and we came here to see Airport. And that was a little different experience than the Sunday afternoon, because when Airport was over, we walked all the way down the boulevard with this couple. And that was at the time when during the day it was still kind of touristy as far as Hollywood was concerned, but at night, the night people at 1970, the night people took over Hollywood Boulevard, and the Sunset Boulevard became the Sunset Strip. And it scared the living hell out of me, walking up and down this street. But the one time, absolutely, positively, that I know I stood on this spot of ground, exactly, this spot right here, where my name will eventually be. Where I sat was the year after that, 1971, when my stepfather, Kurt Zastapel, took me here to see a movie at night. Actually, what happened was we saw two movies. We saw at the Cinerama Dome that night, we saw the Paul Newman movie, Sometimes a Great Notion. But the movie that we saw at the Graumans Chinese Theater that night was my first James Bond movie. And it was Diamonds Are Forever. And I'd heard about James Bond, and I'd seen the toys, and I'd seen the trailers, but I never saw TV spots, but I never saw a James Bond movie. And the line went all the way down the block. And we stayed in that line, and at one point of that line, I stood right there. So I have called Hollywood my home even before I even lived in this zip code for a very, very long time. And I take it seriously that I am a member of this community, I am a member of this town, and I respect it, and I love it, and I want to thank all you all for coming out, and I'm happy to have my star on the Walk of Fame with all the other people that have done a wonderful job in this town. Thank you very much.
Well, let's unveil that star, and if Samuel L. Jackson would join us for the unveiling.